What if NASA had already made contact with extraterrestrial civilizations, but this information had never been revealed to the public? What if, right now, there are secret archives, classified documents and forbidden records that hide the greatest discovery in human history? What would happen if our entire view of the universe was being manipulated? Sounds like something out of a movie, doesn't it? But what if I told you that there is real evidence that this could be true? For decades, strange signals from space have been picked up by radio telescopes around the world. Some of these signals were so complex that scientists were left without explanations. But interestingly, whenever something seemed to get out of control, the information was quickly hushed up. Messages that were never translated, anomalous frequencies that disappeared without explanation, and documents that simply disappeared from public records. Coincidence? Or an organized effort to hide a truth that could change? Everything. Leaked reports show that astronauts on the Apollo missions witnessed unexplained phenomena during their lunar walks. There are official transcripts, communication records, and even videos that were mysteriously edited before reaching the public. Neil Armstrong, one of the greatest icons of space exploration, would have confided to people close to him that something had been found on the moon. But why did these statements never gain prominence? Why do astronauts who dare to speak on this subject end up discredited or silenced? And it doesn't stop there. Several former NASA employees and high-ranking military personnel have already stated in interviews and leaked documents that extraterrestrial contact may have happened a long time ago. In 2001, during an event known worldwide as the Disclosure Project, military personnel, engineers, and former intelligence agents gave their testimonies about the existence of extraterrestrial contacts, alien technology, and secret operations involving NASA and other space agencies, but somehow the matter never made it into the mainstream media. Have you ever noticed how, whenever an impressive video appears on the internet, it is quickly labeled as fake or misinterpreted? How many times have we heard the explanation that something strange seen in the sky was just a weather balloon? Should we really believe these justifications? Or are we being conditioned to ignore the obvious? Over the years, stunning images and videos have also emerged, many captured by amateurs, showing mysterious objects near space stations and even interacting with satellites. On several occasions, astronauts on live broadcasts have reacted strangely, as if they were seeing something they shouldn't have. The most curious thing? These transmissions are often cut off or interrupted at the exact moment something unusual happens. If there's one thing we've learned throughout history, it's that the most impactful information isn't simply disclosed. It's controlled, manipulated, and often hidden. Classified documents, testimonies that disappear from the media, erased records. Is this just paranoia, or are we facing the biggest space conspiracy of all time? Today, we'll explore the most shocking evidence, analyze behind-the-scenes accounts, and delve into evidence that could reveal contact already took place. What was actually found in the Apollo missions? Why did the United States create a secret program called Solar Warden, supposedly dedicated to patrolling space? What does NASA have to hide? And more importantly, what would be the impact of this revelation on society? Get ready, because this video could forever change the way you see the universe. But before I reveal the most shocking details, I want to know, what do you think of all this? Do you believe that NASA has already made contact with extraterrestrial civilizations and hides this truth? Or do you think it's all just a big coincidence? Write in the comments, because I want to see how far your theory goes on this. In 1977, one of the most intriguing events in astronomy took place. During a routine scan of deep space, the Big Ear radio telescope in the United States picked up an extremely strong and unusual radio signal coming from a seemingly empty region of the cosmos. It lasted 72 seconds and was so impressive that astronomer Jerry Eman, when reviewing the data, circled the reading and wrote next to it, "Wow," and thus the famous "wow" signal was born. Now here's the detail that makes this story even stranger. No one has ever been able to accurately explain its origin. Unlike any known interference, it came from a specific frequency that, according to scientists, would be one of the most likely for interstellar communication. But as always happens in these cases, instead of investigating in depth, the official explanation was quick and inconclusive. It must have been a natural phenomenon, or probably a technical error. But is it really? This was not an isolated case. Over the decades, SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, has detected several anomalous signals that were simply discarded without much explanation. In 2003, for example, project scientists captured another signal known as SHG BU2+14A, coming from a point in space where, theoretically, there should be nothing emitting radio waves. It was repetitive, varied in intensity, and seemed artificial. But once again, no definitive answer was given, which brings us to an inevitable question. What if NASA and other space agencies had already received extraterrestrial transmissions, but decided never to reveal them to the public? It would not be the first time that classified documents have been hidden. We know that governments around the world hide sensitive information all the time. If there was concrete evidence of contact, what do you think they would do? Would you disclose it to the world immediately, or hide everything until you can better understand what is happening? There are leaked documents that suggest some of these transmissions were received and analyzed in secret. There are reports that mysterious messages were picked up on protected frequencies and immediately blocked for internal study. What were they trying to avoid? And why were these signs, which could be humanity's greatest discoveries, simply ignored? One of the strangest details of this story is that every time an unexplained sign appears, the mainstream media treats it as a passing curiosity. Have you noticed this? They talk about the subject for a day or two, write some articles on science portals, and then never comment again. The scientists involved in the discovery end up changing areas or simply disappearing from the radar. Not to mention cases in which entire research documents disappear from public databases. Coincidence? Or a deliberate effort to keep this knowledge away from the population? Now, think about the impact this revelation would have on the world. Imagine waking up one day and seeing on the news, confirmed humanity has received an extraterrestrial message. What would happen? How would people react? Would religions collapse? Would governments lose control? And more. How would these beings react upon knowing that we were finally able to capture their transmissions? Here's the big question. If these messages really exist, how can we be sure we're not being watched right now? Decades ago, scientists like Carl Sagan discussed the possibility that advanced civilizations could be trying to communicate with us. What if the WOW and so many others were exactly that, a first contact, ignored by humanity itself? And if you want to continue following secrets, conspiracies, and hidden truths that science doesn't want to discuss, leave a like, because what comes next will leave you even more intrigued. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because the next revelation could change everything you believe about the universe. Let's continue. Within the space community, there are those who have seen more than they should have. Astronauts who spent days and even months in space, witnessing phenomena that defy any conventional explanation. But when they try to talk about it, their voices are drowned out, their words distorted, and their credibility attacked. Now, why does this happen? Why would astronauts who have dedicated their lives to science and space exploration be discredited just when they start? Reporting strange events. What are NASA, government agencies, and intelligence agencies really hiding? Edgar Mitchell, Apollo 14 astronaut and the sixth man to set foot on the moon, was not afraid to say what he knew. In several interviews, he was categorical. We have already been visited. According to him, high levels of the government have always known about the existence of extraterrestrial intelligence, but this truth has been systematically covered up over the decades. Mitchell claimed to have spoken directly with military sources who confirmed that contacts had already occurred and that alien technology was being studied in secret. But, like everyone who tries to expose this reality, he was immediately labeled as eccentric, and his statements were minimized by the mainstream media. Another impressive case comes from Buzz Aldrin, the second man to walk on the lunar surface during the historic Apollo 11 mission. Aldrin revealed years later that he and his crew observed a mysterious object following the spacecraft towards the moon, something that appeared to be monitoring the command module. NASA's first reaction? Claiming that it was probably a piece of the rocket that took them to space. But here's the problem. Aldrin and the other astronauts knew exactly where this piece of rocket was, and that object wasn't him. What then was traveling alongside Apollo 11 as the first humans headed for the moon? Gordon Cooper, one of NASA's pioneers and a member of the Mercury program, also made it clear that he had experiences with phenomena that could not be explained. He even reported that he saw UFOs while still serving in the Air Force, and that he knew of the existence of files that contained records of these sightings. Cooper also claimed that he personally saw footage of an unknown flying object landing on a military base, an event that was reportedly recorded by high-precision cameras, but whose footage quickly disappeared into secret government archives. Now let's reflect on a pattern here. Astronauts, highly trained men with impeccable careers and credibility within science, risk their reputations to talk about something that supposedly shouldn't exist. And what happens to them? They are ridiculed. His statements are treated as misconstrued stories. They are ignored by the mainstream media, and NASA itself never officially confirms or denies these reports. Why? What would be the risk in admitting that yes, astronauts saw things in space that we cannot explain? The answer may lie in the idea of control. Imagine the global impact if NASA or any government confirmed that astronauts actually witnessed craft of unknown origin. This would completely change our worldview, the way we see our place in the universe. And most importantly, it would call into question the information monopoly that these agencies have. If humanity knew that we are not alone, that there has already been contact, and that there is something out there monitoring our activities, would people just take it in stride, or would they panic? Perhaps this is exactly why these reports are so quickly discredited. Not because they are not real, but because admitting this reality would mean losing control over how humanity deals with this discovery. And here comes another crucial point. Astronauts who dare to speak on this subject are often forced to recant, to soften their statements, or even to remain silent. Some even say that they were pressured by superior organizations to avoid this topic. If you have heard of these statements, I want to know your opinion. Do you believe that these astronauts really saw something and that NASA is hiding it? Or do you think there are simpler explanations for these events? Comment below. And if you want to reinforce your presence in this discussion, write, NASA doesn't want us to know. If there's one thing that NASA seems to do very well, it's preventing certain images and broadcasts from reaching the public without going through some type of filter. But what exactly are they trying to hide? Why on several occasions do live broadcasts from the International Space Station simply drop out at the exact moment something strange appears in the video? Coincidence, technical problem, or a well-calculated strategy to prevent us from witnessing something we shouldn't see? Several times, attentive viewers following live broadcasts from the ISS have reported the appearance of mysterious objects, strange lights appearing in deep space, unknown shapes moving in unconventional ways, and even objects that appear to enter and leave Earth's atmosphere without following the expected trajectory of meteors or satellites. And what happens in these moments? The transmission abruptly cuts off, the screen turns blue, or NASA says there has been a technical failure. The curious thing is that these failures always occur at the most critical moments, when something unusual is about to be clearly identified. These are not isolated cases. In 2016, an unknown object was captured by ISS cameras as it approached Earth. It appeared to move in a controlled manner, which ruled out simple explanations like a piece of space junk. Just as the object became more visible, the transmission was cut off. This happened again in 2017, 2018, and continues to this day. What are these cameras capturing that we can't see? What could be so impactful that it justifies the need to hide these images from the public? But that didn't start now. If we go back in time to the Apollo missions, we find even more disturbing evidence. There were times when the astronauts, during their communications with the control center on Earth, seemed to be describing things that simply shouldn't be there. Words were spoken, codes were used, and entire messages were later censored. One of the most enigmatic moments happened during the Apollo 11 mission, when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin set foot on the moon. There is a period of time during that mission that remains shrouded in mystery. According to some sources, there was a private communication between the astronauts and NASA, a transmission that was kept off public channels. What was said? What were they seeing? There are reports that Armstrong described structures on the lunar horizon, and that he mentioned ships positioned at strategic points around the crater where they landed. And it wasn't just Apollo 11. In Apollo 17, the last manned mission to the moon, there are records of a moment when one of the astronauts, when observing the horizon, seems surprised by something he is seeing. Soon after, communication is cut off, and when it returns, there is a visibly more restrained tone. What were they looking at? Something that shouldn't be there. If there was in fact direct contact or an observation of something that is beyond our knowledge, Why was this information never made public? What would be the impact if the world knew that astronauts saw something that defies our understanding? The truth is, if NASA were truly committed to publicizing all discoveries made in space, there would be no reason to hide parts of the transmissions. There would be no sudden cuts whenever something strange appears in the images. There would be no need to divert focus from crucial questions such as, what's really out there? If this mystery is leaving you intrigued, leave a like, because what comes next could be the missing piece to this puzzle. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because the next revelation could completely change the way you see space exploration. Now, let's go ahead and take a closer look at the evidence that no one wants you to see. Now, let's get into an even darker part of this story. If there is an effort to hide information about extraterrestrial contacts and anomalies captured in space, then who is behind it? Who makes the decisions about what can and cannot be revealed to the public? To answer these questions, we need to talk about the secret files and the connection between NASA and the United States government. And here we enter one of the best-kept mysteries in history, the Majestic 12. Majestic 12, or MJ-12, would be a highly secret group formed by order of President Harry Truman in 1947, shortly after the famous Roswell incident. According to documents leaked years later, this group was made up of scientists, military personnel, and high-ranking intelligence agents, all tasked with investigating and covering up any evidence of extraterrestrial contact. But the question is, if this group really existed, and there is strong evidence that it did its activities continue to this day? Is NASA involved in this absolute secrecy scheme? The leaked MJ-12 files suggest that the United States government has not only studied the possibility of contact with extraterrestrial civilizations, but has also recovered alien technology. And this is where another extremely mysterious place surrounded by secrets comes in, Area 51. Officially, it is just a test base for experimental aircraft, but the stories surrounding this place go far beyond that. For decades, former Area 51 employees have claimed that experiments were conducted there with technology that does not belong on this planet. Bob Lazar, one of the best-known whistleblowers when it comes to Area 51, categorically stated that he worked on a secret program in which spacecraft of non-Earth origin were studied. According to him, the US government obtained these ships through wreckage recovery, and even through unknown agreements with extraterrestrial entities. But what's even more shocking is that Lazar also mentioned that some of this technology was being shared with very specific sectors of the government and with agencies like NASA. This brings us to an interesting point. If NASA really has no knowledge of extraterrestrial life, as some insist on claiming, why are there so many suspicious connections between the space agency and the US government? Recent leaks have shown that the name of John Podesta, a former White House advisor and influential figure in American politics, appears in several emails discussing the existence of alien life and the need to reveal this information to the public. And it doesn't stop there. Among the leaked emails, one of them directly mentions Barack Obama's name. In it, there is a conversation about the possibility of the then President of the United States being instructed to prepare humanity for the announcement of the existence of extraterrestrial life. But what happened next? Nothing. The topic simply disappeared, which means that either they decided to postpone this revelation for some reason, or there was never a real intention to release this information to the public. Now think with me. If senior government officials discuss extraterrestrial life and secret projects involving advanced technology, why do they insist that NASA has no knowledge of any of this? The American Space Agency is one of the best funded and monitored organizations on the planet. To believe that she does not have access to these secrets would be naive. And if all this is leaving you increasingly intrigued, I want to know your opinion. Do you believe that Majestic 12 still exists and controls information about extraterrestrial contacts? Or do you think Area 51 and the leaked emails are just part of a big misunderstanding? Leave it here in the comments. And if you want to reinforce this discussion, write, NASA knows more than it says. The impact of an official confirmation of extraterrestrial life would simply be gigantic. The first major rupture would occur in religions. For millennia, humanity has built belief systems based on the idea that we were created in a unique and special way. What if we suddenly discovered that we weren't the only ones? How would this affect dogmas and sacred scriptures? Some religions might try to fit this new reality into their narratives, while others would collapse. Many people could question everything they have ever believed, and this would lead to an unprecedented culture clash. Governments would also play a crucial role in this process. Imagine the panic that news like this could cause. How do you maintain control over entire populations while dealing with fear and uncertainty? Would there be collective hysteria? How would superpowers deal with the idea that they are no longer the dominant forces in the universe? This could trigger a new space race, but now with much deeper objectives, establishing direct contact, negotiating agreements, or, in a darker scenario, preparing defenses for the unknown. Given all this, another intriguing possibility arises. What if NASA and other space agencies already know about this reality, but are gradually preparing humanity for this revelation? In recent years, there has been a notable increase in the number of declassified documents, reports, about UFOs being recognized by the United States government, and even statements from former military personnel and astronauts about unexplained contacts in space. Is this information being released gradually to avoid an abrupt shock? Films, series, and books about extraterrestrial life have never been so popular either. The media, consciously or unconsciously, may be playing a role in this process of psychological adaptation. After all, if we are exposed from an early age to the idea that there are other beings in the universe, when this revelation finally happens, it may not be as scary as it would be for a completely unprepared civilization. After everything we've said here, the crucial moment has come. What do you think of all this? Do you believe that NASA has already made contact with extraterrestrial civilizations and hides this truth from the public? Or do you think all this evidence is just coincidences and exaggerated interpretations? What makes the most sense to you? Truth is that over the years, a lot of evidence has emerged. Statements from scientists and astronauts, leaked documents, and official records that point to something much bigger than the officially released version. Sudden cuts in live broadcasts, mysterious signals captured from space, censored astronaut conversations, secret files linked to the United States government, and even the possibility that humanity is slowly being prepared for this revelation. All these pieces of the puzzle indicate that we are not facing a simple theory, but rather a real mystery, which has been carefully covered up for decades. And if NASA already knows everything, why keep hiding it? Many believe that this truth can be dangerous, that humanity is not yet ready to deal with the idea that we are not the only intelligent beings in the cosmos. But is this really a valid justification? Or does the real reason behind this secrecy have more to do with control, power, and interests that go far beyond what we can imagine? The most curious thing is that in recent years, we have seen a significant increase in the amount of information about UFOs being officially released. Pentagon reports, testimonies from former military personnel, videos recorded by US Navy fighter pilots, and even previously classified documents that are being released to the public. This could mean that the secret is about to be revealed. But the big question is, who will have control over this information? How will this revelation be made? And will humanity accept this new reality so easily? If all these questions make sense to you, then now I want to know your opinion. Do you believe that NASA has already made contact with extraterrestrial beings and keeps this information hidden? Or do you think this is all just a series of disconnected events interpreted in an exaggerated way? I want to see what you think about this. And if you've made it this far in the video, that means you're intrigued by this mystery as much as I am. So hit the like button, because this helps this content reach more people who, like you, want to understand what is really happening. The more engagement we have, the more this mystery spreads. And of course, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because in the next videos we will dive even deeper into these secrets, and you won't want to miss any revelations. Now don't stop here. The next video that is appearing on the screen now will take you even deeper into this conspiracy. Click now and continue this investigation with me. The truth may be closer than we imagine.